we're good to go. Hey, you say you're good to go, but your camera's off. Welcome to the
No.
Tabletop Colin Show, everybody. uh, we are live here on twitch.tv/AdamyBell. Follow or subscribe or whichever one it is if you haven't already. We are here to talk about some games. We are here to talk to you about some games. Unlike last week, this is the actual titular Colin Show. I am Adam Bell. You can find me on Twitter at AdamyBell. Find my games at adamybell.games. Jeremy, what's up? Who are you?
Hey, what's up? I'm Jeremy Gage. You can find me at JeremyGage5 over on Twitter. I am the host of the Draw Your Dice podcast, which is a podcast where we interview designers just like you or game consumers just like you so that you can create your own games that you like for you. And I'm also excited to take your calls today, listeners.
We've got first time chat from viewer Merciful Hacker asking if the show is pre-taped. It is not. We are here. We're live. We're happy to talk to whoever. Actually, I should move over to Discord for myself so I can see if anybody wants to talk to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a little Discord link in the corner. Who knows if the bot still works? It does. Great. There's the Discord link. You hop in there and it'll tell you how to call in. Oh, cool. Merciful Hacker is David Sheridan. So.
Oh, hey, David.
Hi. Yeah, what's been going on, Jeremy? It's been a week since we've last spoken in front of the internet, I guess. Any news to report? I've had a slow week, so I'm hoping that you will you'll fill this.
Been plugging away on Umbral Dive in its fourth alpha version at this point, 0.04. Or Mark 4. I'm using marks. Why don't we use marks anymore for things, right?
Yeah. I mean, just the fact that you're versioning in general is put you ahead of the curve, I think.
Is that it? Is that the key to game design success?
I just don't. I don't have numbers like that. That's nice.
For anyone that is unfamiliar, Umbral Dive is my Final Fantasy XIV Heartbreaker game, which I will be probably recording a devlog today for. So there's that. Started doing dog sitting jobs. Also started looking into doing transcription work. So if you have a YouTube channel, a podcast, or you just want some really good SEO verbiage for the Googles, come knock at my door.
I didn't even think about that transcription being an SEO friendly tool as well. Because you put the
it's huge.
You would put the transcription on the thing, and then if somebody searches for any shitty little word, you say in your podcast, hey, you're on that list now.
Shitty little word. Yeah. Thank you, Adam, for really putting it into perspective.
No, you're the transcriber, so you don't make the shitty little words. You merely bring life to them. Your words are great.
It's true. Then you can turn that into blog articles. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons to come talk to me, creators. Yeah. So, copywriting.
Yeah, do it.
What else? Working out again. It's warm. Grace has been doing stock photos. I'm sure everyone's been seeing that on Twitter. If you haven't, they're great. The Jeremy Gage RPG game jam is going to happen within the next couple stock photos. So
my God.
Make a game about Jeremy Gage using the stock photos.
It's a powerful move.
It'll be amazing. It's a powerful move.
I've played a video game called Inscription recently that I thought was good. Mm-hmm. It's one of those games that you can't really talk about unless other people have played it because there's spoilers or whatever. I know you don't care, but I'm sure the viewers might. But if you like card game video games, that's a good one. It was cool.
There it is, Inscription.
Yeah, with a Y.
Yeah.
Like crypt, maybe.
Like scry?
Oh, wow, it's got layers. Like cry, also.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Knock at my door for your next Scrabble game.
I've got nothing to say to that. But I think we do have ourselves a somebody in the call queue. This is probably
Oh.
my mistake. I don't know why farmersonly.com is still able to be jumped in the Discord, but maybe they can't. People can't see the waiting room. Oops. But whatever. I could drag them in. So we do have Discord user David Sheridan waiting to have a chat. Hello. If you can hear us, welcome to the Tabletop Call-In Show. I think you're muted, just in case you're trying to talk. Well, it wouldn't be any call-in show if the callers didn't have some sort of difficulty. I don't know how many call-in shows you've listened to, but that's always the way it works. Is it me? Is it me? You'll get a lot of that.
Doing it live.
But while that situation hopefully resolves itself, yeah, for anybody new to the show, we just kind of talk to whoever wants to call in about really anything game related that they might want to say. You know, sometimes people, well, David's gone. Sometimes people might ask questions about like making games. Sometimes people might, talk about a cool game they played or a cool game they read or anything. What would you want to talk
anything
about?
game related.
That's what you talk about. The reason that this is the call-in show and not Jeremy and Adam talk show is because I don't know what I want to talk about this week. But you do, dear viewer.
Dear viewer.
Uh,
Dear viewer. It has been 128 days since our last conversation. How I miss you. I long for your warm embrace and want to see you again in the rolling hills of Scotland. My father says that he is pleased with the gift that you sent with your last parcel. That's free fiction for everybody. To get the rest of it, you have to subscribe for $9.99 to the Tabletop Call-In Show, where you'll get the other chapters of Dear Viewer.
okay, let's try again with David. Hey, how about now? Welcome to the tabletop. Oh, I think I heard. I think I heard something.
All right. How's that working?
Oh, it's perfect, crystal clear. Can you hear us? I guess would be the next problem.
Okay, yeah, so I actually had a question for Jeremy. How do you maintain the energy and motivation to run a show for as long as you have? Because I tried my hand at a tea podcast and it lasted about 4 episodes before I got sick of it. So what's like, how do you keep motivated and how do you keep from moving on to a new project?
Whoa, big question. So how do I stay motivated to do the thing that I'm doing? Well, David, I think that it is a matter of foresight and goal setting. So for anyone that may not know, like I mentioned in the intro, I host a podcast called the Draw Your Dice Podcast. And I started the podcast with the intention of being very selfish with tangential community building, in that I wanted to learn how to make games, but I did not want to go to college for game theory. And so I wanted to meet a ton of people who were much better than what I did, learn from them, and by transitive property, put that on in the internet for other people who are like me. Because for podcasts that I've been searching for game design, it was either very like high level, fluffy descriptions about like the art of game design, especially on the indie scene. And I have a very analytical brain. And I needed someone to give me like terms and vocabulary and like processes, and no one was really giving me that. Or it was built around like someone basically promoting their game. Like an example is, while I love the game Heart the City Beneath, the podcast that they made for like I would like to hear about some of the extra bits and bobs that went into designing the systems of the game and like the resistance system and stuff like that. So how do I keep coming back to it? I keep doing it now to A, help to continue to learn, B, to learn about the industry now because the show is very much kind of shifted into like a business atmosphere, like the business of game design and how that applies to all the things that we've learned on the show so far. It's also another way to lift up um, the community overall by putting indie designers who may not who are not being asked to be on more popular shows. Although Party of One does a great job, so shout out to Jeff Stormer, Yes Indeed, Lost Bay podcast, all of that, all those interview shows. Super glad to be amongst the ranks of all of you. Plus One XP, also Tony Pacenda. So I'm one of Legion. We are many. The reason I also keep doing it is that eventually I want to put out a game. I want to manipulate this into a more like community-driven project. So even today I tweeted about like thinking about doing a digital your friendly digital game store kind of concept. That's coined by Adam Bell. So thanks Adam for that name. And thinking about doing a digital only store where you only buy PDFs. There are no like print options. Doing like digital events so people can host their own games or like get connected with community members. They may kind of being like a crossroads environment. So to simplify the answer, I continue to do the podcast because I have goals that the podcast will morph into, and it also continues to serve as a selfish tool for me to increase my knowledge and to build relationships with really cool people, and we can help each other out. So that's how I keep doing the damn thing.
Wow.
And can I ask a follow-up, or is my time up?
Oh, please.
Yeah.
There's a YouTuber named Mark Rober who does Game Maker's Toolkit, and he's
Love
had a similar journey as you, making a bunch of content about game design, and now recently he started a series about making his own game and is taking us through that process. Do you think you will be transparent about your game design process, or will you prefer to reveal the final product like a magician at the
end? Actually, today, after this, I plan on recording a devlog for Umbral Dive, which will be the first start of that series. So the answer is, I think what's really important about making game design education accessible to people is the transparency of it. I think a lot of, and maybe I want to say rightfully so, a lot of artists are scared of like copyright stuff, people stealing their intellectual property. I mean, we see it in different sectors or industries, and even in different like bigger game bubbles of in conversations about the discourse of stealing other people's stuff. But I think when it comes to helping bring in the next generation of education that sort of like steps away from the college paradigm, I think it's really important to be transparent about your process, how you made something, why you're thinking the way that you're thinking, because someone can take that, riff on it, and make their own thing. And I think that if we move into a space where transparency is sort of the norm, then I also think that it will allow for people to be kinder in their approaches towards collaboration. I think about things like Sandy Pug Games or like Far Horizons Co-op, which was previously San Gennaro Co-op, where they have a bunch of collaborative designers. They all share their funds and they all come together to make projects. I think about Spencer Campbell's Slayer's Almanac that he started the collaborations for a bunch of different designers. So I think about like the transparency leading to collaboration, which is what I ultimately want for a creative industry like game design.
That's super cool. Thanks for answering my questions, Jeremy. And thanks for hosting, Adam.
You got it. I did find it a little bit funny. You don't know this because you said this is the first time you've watched this, but we were on hiatus for a long time because I couldn't keep up the energy to do a show. So when you asked that first question directly to Jeremy, I laughed a little bit at my own self.
I saw myself in the question.
This was very helpful. Well, David, did you have anything else you wanted to talk about, or anything you wanted to plug of your own? Or...
Oh, I don't want to steal a spotlight. This is Jeremy's time to shine, right?
No. If you have anything you want to like, I know I recently played the Low Country Crawl. Recently I did the GMing for that, so you're welcome to plug that if you want to, or something else.
I will plug Jeremy's fantastic game of Low Country Crawl, thereby both of us getting credit for it.
Perfect.
Was that the one that you
plus
played
one
on? Plus one, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Plus one, yeah. Plus One XP recently featured Jeremy and our lead writer Stephen Bramlett, along with Tony and
Keegan EXE.
That's right, Keegan EXE. And they played Low Country Crawl, a game that I published earlier this year that is a Southern Gothic RPG zine, just packed with lots of content written by local South Carolina writers, artists, editors, and 20% of all our sales go to support a local charity that feeds people and promotes activism for our community. So Low Country Crawl is my one plug.
Perfect.
Awesome. Well, yeah.
Well, thank you, David.
Thanks for calling in.
Thank y'all.
Wow.
It is impressive how you've been able to, how you just like started up the draw your dice and just kind of, that was your thing.
Gotta start the empire somehow.
No hesitation at any point. At least no outward. I don't know what you're dealing with at home, but it seems like you're just
so much internally. I think one important thing that I might later talk about on the podcast that is additive to that question is that there are days that are hard for a minutia of different reasons. One is like the creativity of it and / like doing it consistently day to day and like getting because meeting with people, you have to be on friendly, you have to be a host for your podcast, you have to be like intentively listening we do anywhere from 60 to 90 minutes, so about 2 hours of just being super engaged with a single person, which I love, but can be draining. And the other thing is that I do it for free. You know what I mean? Like, I do remote work from home, but like I put out a creative product every week or tons of it for free, essentially. So that can also be like a daunting conversation, especially when me and my partner are trying to make our own businesses, our own creative endeavors, and pay for food and electricity and stuff like that.
And a roof.
Yeah.
All these cool things that really make sense for people to have to pay for.
Yeah. different podcast, different calling. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's pretty cool. It is. I had something to say that came up while you were talking about it, but I have forgotten it. So if it comes up, I'll drop it on you.
Please.
Yeah. But we do have another return caller, Raph D. Amico. Hey, how is it going? Welcome to the Tabletop Golden Show.
What's up? How's it going? I'm all right.
Hi.
What's up? Just having some breakfast.
Nice.
Num-nums.
How have you been?
Mondays.
In the time since we've talked.
Oh, been okay. Been okay. Life goes on.
Yeah.
Life goes on. Monday time feels like serious. This is now. This is like none of that Sunday crap. Like Monday's real. Starting the week right.
Yeah.
It feels a little better. I can't lie.
Yeah, I also agree that it feels a little better.
I don't know why. I mean, I kind of know why, and I think it's because a lot of people there's nobody like that I would be doing an in-person thing with on Monday. So there's no like misconnection opportunities necessarily by me doing
Right.
my Monday. It's something that I can be like, yeah, Monday mornings I do this, and that's nice. Whereas Sundays it would be like, oh, sorry, I can't do a thing. You know, I'm busy at 1 p.m., which is an awkward time to be busy because can't really do morning thing, can't really do afternoon thing. But here, you know, I'm cruising. I don't do anything Monday mornings for my own work anyway. So like, it's good all around.
Yeah, I love it. Right, us on the West Coast, just having my breakfast, enjoying
Oh,
some tabletop call-in show,
yeah.
sipping
Yeah.
some hot brew. It's
Apologies to anybody on the West Coast who doesn't get up at 8 a.m. But this that that feels like the best version of leaving out a time zone possible. Is like you just have to get up at a reasonable but early time. As you know,
it is a yeah, it is a funny one, and I want to riff on that for a second. I wanted to riff off the discussion too we're just having, but it is a funny thing about this whole scene is like so many of us have day jobs or
mm,
or work in other things, and um like for example, I look at Spencer. I'm amazed by Spencer's consistency in streaming, for example.
I don't get it.
It's I'm kind of awestruck by people who manage to keep up a consistent schedule of something like that on top of their day job and actually designing stuff.
Mm.
You got to fit in the game design pretty much any time that you can.
Mm-hmm. At least
Also,
until you transition to making it full, like doing it all the time.
yeah, right, which obviously would be ideal. It's going to happen, I believe.
Hell yeah.
The other thing I wanted to riff on too is I feel we talked about this, Jeremy. Like we talked about this on the podcast, but I just feel like podcasts like yours and like this one, like Plus One EXP, and like so many others, they're really like the community gathering spots for the community,
Mm-hmm.
where you just get this higher bandwidth version of everyone, more nuance, more depth than you get on places like Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been pretty interested too, thinking about other formats. Like maybe there should be like like a weekly TTRPG book club where we gather in small groups and discuss the latest book that we've read, and
Mm-hmm.
can we expand the range of different social formats that we have?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's one thing I love most about this call-in show, for example, like experimenting with the form. So maybe one of the questions I have for you two is like, what are other forms of social interaction that the community needs or could benefit from that are underserved right now?
That's a good question. Because yeah, it does lead me to think about. I mean, you mentioned Twitter as potentially a shallow zone of where you put thoughts, and that like gets me thinking that every time I see something on Twitter that like either makes me roll my eyes because it doesn't make any sense, or makes me wonder like why. And this isn't a direct call to anybody. This is just the nature of the format. But it makes me wonder like why did you even think that you needed to say this on this website? Because it's not, I don't know, sometimes it's not that interesting, sometimes it's something that I've thought about before, but I don't know. It's do your post, never stop posting. But like there are so many
Never stop.
there are so many like tweets and stuff that like would be pretty good like conversations, but not necessarily good like one person just putting out a pile of words that make a statement, and then due to the nature of Twitter not being very good at discussion besides slinging shit at each other, like it kind of falls flat for me. I don't know. So what can you do to encourage more actual talking? What kind of spaces do we need is a great question. I do like Discords. I spend more time in there than I do on Twitter because like just it's more conversational, and more conversational to me means people can actually say what they mean instead of like kind of constructing a very short soundbite of what they are trying to say, and then almost certainly everybody that reads it kind of misconstrues it in some way or misunderstands or whatever, because that's the way it goes. But like, you can figure out that people don't understand what you mean immediately if you write something in a Discord or any other chat room, and people are like, "What are you talking about?" Then you can just elaborate, and it's fine. It's good. But what's something new? Jeremy, do you have any ideas on a new, not new, but like something missing? Because there's definitely missing stuff.
I think sort of the seeding question for all of this is I think two parts. One, organization. So in a lot of the discords or circles that I am inside of, a lot of like game nights or events are kind of whimsical and fleeting and irregular. And I think one big piece of it is just being the business person of it, the project manager of it. And like, I know that requires a certain type of energy. So I know that not every community can, I don't want to say the word indulge, because I don't think it's an indulgent thing to do, but I know that it's difficult and it's like its own job. But I think consistency is a big part of it, like consistency in organization, finding out like what your community wants to do or what the community wants to like talk about or engage with that's not discourse based. I think we get so many like Twitter conversations around discourse, right? Like talking about proper discourse, like wages and representation, and like kind of more philosophical discourse about like, is a game an art, or is it
Does
system matter? Yeah, the system matter, the classic. How much more can we dunk on D&D 5e? Like, it's like those two spectrums of conversation. And so I think about like panels, right, as one thing. I think more panels I think just more panels overall. I think the second part of that is the forum. Like, what is the forum and how do we engage with that? Is it a video forum like here on Twitch or YouTube or whatever? Is it pre-recorded? Is it live? Is it podcast? Is it just audio? Is it a post by forum? Is a forum, a post forum, basically? Is it a live chat like in Discord? And are those things scheduled, right? Are we coming together every Tuesday to do discussions? Are we coming together to do game nights every Thursday? Are we
these are real examples that Jeremy drives in the Draw Your Dice Discord.
It's true. Real events that I have going on. But like, it requires someone to create sort of the trite phrasing of, if you make it, they will come, or if you build it, they will come, sort of thing. And where is the digital bar? Where is the all of that stuff? I don't know. I think one piece is organization and one piece is what is the forum, and then how do we get the people into that connection, where they are the third circle of this Venn diagram: forum, organization, and the people. And then just getting the word out, and also like controlling, because the thing about digital is that it has to be like scalable or cut offable. So like or limited, because you can't have 80 people talking at once in a Discord channel. That wouldn't get anything done.
Yeah.
And you also have to make sure that at least for me, you have to make sure that all slices of the pot, or that's not a really good analogy, all demographics are being represented in the people that can answer the question. And I think there's also this need for the sense of discovery in terms of, a lot of panels, at least in my gut intuition, look towards like people who are like trending or expert when it comes to like, who are we asking to speak. And I think there's such a space for like bringing a fresh mind into, or fresh soul into the conversation, to like I don't kind of understand these things, but I come from like this completely different background, and here's how I see what you're talking about, right? Like finding a way to have like moderators that can guide that conversation. So I guess moderators is another piece of the puzzle,
Mm.
or facilitators, right? But those are my thoughts from your question. I think forum, organization, moderation, and then how do we get the people there?
I think another thing I would like to add is something that has been obviously taken from us over the last couple years, but which is in person shit, like a convention.
Mhm.
Like I've never been to Big Bad Con, but I hear that I know that that's like the indie
Yeah.
RPG one.
Yeah.
But the conventions I have been to, it's a whole like a way better experience, like talking to designers of games that but don't like. I'm not gonna tag somebody on Twitter that I don't know that made a game that I think is cool, because I just don't want to do that. But like I would go up to their booth at a convention and be like, "Yo, your game is cool. Do you have any other games? Like tell me about this." And that's like nice cuz people like talking to each other in person. And that kind of fosters a whole new layer of like putting a person to the posts essentially, that makes it more comfortable. So like in the future, hopefully that becomes more of an option, to do stuff like that. The second best thing of that, or maybe better depending on who you ask, was the what was that online convention that was in Gathertown? What did they call that?
Session Zero.
Session Zero.
Yeah.
That ruled. It like brought out my natural shyness in a way that other online shit doesn't. And I know that's weird to say as a good thing, but like it was cool to be like in a space and be like, "Oh, I actually hate talking to people," even though I like talking to people a lot. It was cool to be like, "Oh, wait, I see Spencer's funny little avatar over there. I'm gonna I'm gonna run over and just talk with Spencer in the corner," and he was doing the same thing, and that was cool. We had never, like, Spencer and I have talked online, but like we haven't met in person. But like it felt like we kind of did during Session Zero. So conventions, whether real or fake, just big pools of where you put the people, and then they can hang out. I don't know. It's cool. It's nice.
I feel like a big part of that story you just told too is like that sense of a shared experience. It's like you were both in the, wallflower simulation that I also resonate with at conventions. It's just that's really powerful to me, that made you feel like you had met in some way, and because I feel like you never really meet until you've been through something together, or at least have had a, like, I don't know if people on Twitter would say, "Oh, I've met this person on Twitter," and say, "Oh, I've
not
interacted."
And like I think Discord can get you there, but probably you have to hop in voice at some point and like play a game, or have a just face-to-face chat like this. Anybody that's called into the call-in show, I've definitely more met than I had previously. if meeting someone is a spectrum, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Adam and Remy, I'm glad to say I've at least partially met you.
Yeah. It's somewhere along
a
the
partial
lines.
met. We've met. Some percentage of a met.
Yeah. I would say at least 56% at a minimum.
It's funny. The other thing that this whole thing makes you think about too is how small groups are so important. So when you were talking about panels, like I was in a panel at Metatopia, and there were 5 of us, and we had a prep call, and we talked about a bunch of stuff, and then then we had the panel. So like all together, we probably spent like an hour and a half, couple hours interacting. And I just, in my head, that's kind of stored in the same place where I would store, like, oh, I went to like a dinner party with like 4 cool people, and now I would feel very comfortable just like saying hi, or I would feel very comfortable with them like reaching out to me on a much more personal level than if we just met on, than just like strangers on the internet.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So I wonder if like this is the grand power of breakout rooms, right? It's like 30 people show up, you put them in little groups of 4 or 5, then you just like lock them in that group with good moderation for long enough that they
that second part, the good moderation, is important.
they're very important, absolutely critical, absolutely
Come knock
critical.
on my door, baby.
Yeah, it's cool. It feels like there's a lot of potential to build new things.
But it's also all a lot of work for whoever's building it, which is
So much work.
It's why there's that much potential, and you know, if it's ever realized, that is cool. But I know Session Zero was an incredible amount of work for the organizers. It pays off, and I can't imagine, like, that would be really cool to have put together something like that. So, like, you know, maybe in the future, let's look out for that.
Yeah.
Also feels like it's kind of an expectation that's a new expectation on game designers themselves. Like, I feel like pretty much every game has a Discord, and you know, like my Discord, I don't do a particularly good job of organizing anything on it regularly. But for example, like, shout out to Momedos, who I know has like a weekly topic and weekly discussion that she facilitates to create like even like a minimal amount of organizing.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Momedos.
Yeah. Props on so many levels for so many things.
So many levels. Yeah. Just crushing the game. Absolutely murdering it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I got my copy of Arc the other day, and I'm just absolutely awestruck.
Yeah, I've only seen the PDF so far. I should be getting a copy at some point, but I'm looking forward to it. The game was I ran it on +1 AXP a while back, and it was really good. It was like the perfect. I love real-time mechanics. I love adding a timer to a game. I mean, what can you say about it? It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
It's great.
It's organized.
Yeah. It is. It's true. Well, Raph, you got anything else that you would like to chat about here? We do not have another caller, but a Twitch chat person put in a question that we could get to in a little bit.
Oh yeah, you can kick me off at any point. I at some point I'm gonna need to have my breakfast. But you know, also glad to hang out. You decide.
Glad to have you back, Raph.
Yeah,
it's good to see you too.
I don't want to hold you from your breakfast. This isn't me kicking you out, but you know, it's important to eat food.
It's important. It's the most important meal of the day. I'm gonna go. You know, hey listeners, have your breakfast, or don't if you don't feel like having breakfast. Do whatever you want. I'm rooting for you.
Is that the plug for the day?
Oh, plug, yeah. I can plug it. No, I'll the same plug as thinking with the backdrop of the Pinky and the Brain music, but no, it's the same plug as every night, The Zone, the Annihilation style magical psychedelic mutational horror game that you can play for free at thezonerpg.com. Also, I will say I am actually really excited about something, which is I collaborated with Randy Lubin to bring the story synth style mods the whole game by loading a spreadsheet, and that's live. And so I'm just messing around, just preparing some other scenarios, but that is now something anyone can do. You can just make your own scenario.
Whoa.
Yeah, you change everything.
I still do need to play that. I have read Annihilation now since we've last talked. So now, like, I should play a game based on that. I thought that before, but now I definitely, like, now that it's in there in my head, I'm looking.
Well, there's I feel like there's definitely a bunch of folks in that list. So hey, maybe the three of us plus one or two other folks should play a game.
I would be very interested in that. We'll talk.
Let's talk. All right, y'all. I'm gonna head out.
Yeah. Thanks for calling in as always. Great talking to you.
See you later. Super glad the show's back. Bye.
Do I gotta do it? No. Yeah. So a little while back, in the chat, Twitch user Donnie Dynamo asked, "Can't call in proper, but if you find time between calls, any chance you'd touch on games as educational tools? I've seen RPGs described as perhaps helpful for fostering imagination and communicating emotions, but have you seen any designers tackling formal subject learning in their games? I think journaling games could make incredible extra credit / optional assignments if you could prove they relate back to the class subject." Which is a very interesting thought, because yeah, there's definitely like a lot of educational. Are there a lot? I'm in my head. I feel like there's a lot of educational board games, but now I'm kind of blanking on that too. But but like as a concept, games of any form would be great for teaching, and like I'm sure I may or may not have talked about this on the show, but like that's definitely why I picked up board games, was because I felt my brain was falling apart at school because I didn't care about my major anymore, and board games helped me like still use my brain in a way that made me happy. And now here we are 12 years later. So like using that explicitly for school sounds very cool.
I think that, well, sort of like the basic things for language for sure, as Starkiller Fish also points out. But like, think about like the basics of what a game has you do, right? So like, there's critical thinking skills, right?
Mm-hmm.
So creating imaginary situations that you have to solve problems for using the limitations of the game, right? While we as adults may not necessarily think about that as a skill to be built, I think critical thinking is fucking wicked huge when it comes to like navigating real world situations, not just in terms of like capitalism or business, but also in terms of like politics or
I mean, just anything.
community things, civic things, really anything, honestly.
Interpersonal
So long as
relationships.
you move in your human body, relationships.
Like being able to critically think about the way people treat you is an incredibly useful thing.
Absolutely. Emotional development, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that one there though requires a certain amount of guidance from someone who's very well versed in those fields. Right. I don't think just anyone could teach sort of how to teach emotional sensitivity or teach like coping mechanisms and stuff like that. I feel like that's more apt for people who are way more educated about that. Check out Mother effin', what is his name? Derek Chung, designer of Emberwind, does stuff exactly like that. I also think about like dice math is really good for like quick basic math things, like basically order of operations stuff, which is really useful, and also like multiplication, 3D4, right? Figuring out probability or averages.
Mm-hmm.
I think about even art in games could be a skill, like another way of how interpreting art or understanding different pieces of like contextual information, like forms, shapes, line work. You know, I'm watching a lot of like the Blue Period anime, which is super good. I highly recommend it. So I'm learning things in that I think even games could be an appreciation for, like even marketing stuff. How does the cover of your game affect your ability to send a particular signal to people? Like there's a lot of different, I think, sectors that a creative written format or reference document can help either children with, even adults with. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah. There are a couple. Merciful Hacker in the chat is throwing out some. Is that David? Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
David's in the chat throwing out a few. I had to scroll back up to check that might be worth mentioning, because yeah, I'm not familiar with these, but the first one is Critical Core, which is says it's designed to be accessible to therapists, educators, and parents, allowing them to use this tool with those in their community, and a tool for gamers, those who have felt the positive impact of games in their own lives, which, I mean, games are good. So I felt that. So to give back. So Critical Core helps game masters align their games to provide specific support to autistic players, supported by the methods and strategies used by experts in the field. Yeah, that's super interesting. So
I agree.
check that
And
out.
yeah,
I'm going to leave that open and just read about it.
Perfect. And also thinking about like educationally in terms of how to assist other players or accessibility stuff. So like Critical Core here. I know that Blood on the Clock Tower has the what are they called? Not the Travelers, the other ones. Fabled Heroes.
Fabled, yeah.
Yeah, the Fabled, which helps for adjusting the play level or
They help
mechanical
modify the
intensity of the
experience.
game. Yeah.
They help modify the experience for, like, if the storyteller notices that their group is, like, lacking in a certain way, then they can just implement these, like, top level rules. So one example is, I think it's something like the Spiteful Librarian or something, where basically, if you have a group that won't stop talking over the quiet people, you just implement this rule, and it's like, okay, if you talk over the person who's talking right now, the storyteller could just kill you in game. In game, which Blood on the Clock Tower plays very similar to Werewolf, so killing you means like taking your living character and making it dead, if you're not familiar. But then there are other ones that are like, this player and this other player are guaranteed on the same team. So you could do that if you've got a child playing with a group of adults. You can like make sure that kid is, you could say it's the jump, like, I'm implementing this rule and this kid is on their parents' team, so that like if they're floundering, they can like go to the other room and have this talk, and then everybody knows they're both in the same team, so it's not like suspicious or anything weird.
Yeah. And that way there's no like intense pressure to like dig in on them if they're sort of a meeker player.
Right.
So things like that I think are also really useful as a teaching tool, because it is increasing a game master's ability for social empathy, and also increasing their tool set for handling those sorts of challenges amongst their play group, which truly a lot of games could use a ton more of, right? Like this is, we just talked about dunking on D&D 5e, but like this is one of the things D&D 5e kind of lacks, is an ability to it's modular or adjustable for the fictional character concepts, but it has no room for tools, or supplies no tools for the players at the table, minus that one small page of like, these are the different 7 categories of players you could interact with, and here's how you supplement them. Like that's only useful on like a single dimension. That's not useful for like a human experience that you're having at the table. So I think that even including different modular ways, or games that have included modular ways for adapting to your play group and kind of hand holding the GM in that manner, or the facilitator in that manner, are also very useful education tools.
And then I would like to shout out like 2 specific games that aren't about this type of teaching that we've been talking about, but Dialect, for one. Game about language and how it dies. That game has like a mini, basically, textbook in the back about like how to actually linguistically create new sounds and words, which is really rad. And then their other game, same designers, their other game called Sign, is a game about I think it was in Nicaragua. There was a school somewhere for deaf children where like within an incredibly short period of time, the kids developed like their own sign language and like were signing to each other. And so this is a game that like, you've got the GM equivalent who is like standing in one room and they're acting as the teacher, and then all of the players are playing as like these kids who throughout the game you're inventing your own like sign language. And so like both of these games, I haven't played Sign yet, sadly, but I really want to. But both of these games are very cool at explaining how language works, which I took a linguistics class in college, so I know they exist. I remember nothing about it, which makes me sad because all I remember was being like, wow, this is all really interesting. This is cool. But linguistics, yeah. Dialect and sign. And then they have another game about alien language coming soon. It was kickstarted a while back.
And I think that's important too. At least none of the examples I have are directly tied to educational design principles, educational design principles. So all the ones I've talked about are just like accidental things,
Right,
like
yeah.
not people who like have gone out of their way to produce an educational game. But I think that I'm sure there are, and one has been mentioned in the form of Critical Core. And even Dialect and Sign are sort of like, I would say they are more strict to their convention of like, this is a thing that like teaches you how this works. Like this is how language and sign language operate, or are created. And so those are very fascinating. But I'm sure there are games out there that like have that as a paradigm for their creation. And I welcome anyone to like drive by. You know what? I'm gonna do this is the first tabletop call-in version of this. I have a Twitter challenge today. I have a Twitter challenge. Are you cool with this, Adam? Is this fine?
Yeah, I won't stop you. You're co-host.
Okay.
I couldn't stop you even if I wanted to.
I don't know. It just burned in my brain. I want everyone here viewing today to tag the Tabletop Call-In Show, or even like if you're VOD watching this later, tag Tabletop Call-In Show, and like find, if you have one, like put a game that you feel like has education as its forefront design principle and tweet about it. Just send it out there. Send it as like a tool for people to help in their classrooms or with their own personal play group who might have interest in those subjects. I think that could be like wicked awesome. That's something that we can do on a community level. So that's my Tabletop Call-In Show call out.
Yeah.
Action. Call to action. Tabletop Call-In Show call to action. We'll workshop it, but TTCISCTA.
I have one more game to shout out. It's my game.
Please. Oh yeah.
I forgot. My Brain is a Sticker Butter is kind of educational. It's not. You're not gonna have like ADHD class, but like, I have a game called My Brain is a Stick of Butter that is about my experience with ADHD, and I have the people that I know who have played it have either told me like, wow, yeah, this, I mean, does a pretty good job mimicking my experience as well, or people that don't have any, experience with ADHD being like, wow, okay, that kind of makes sense the way that you are. And so I think that's cool. I think there's a lot of space for solo games like that to kind of mimic certain experiences in ways that hopefully don't last too long, so they don't get too weird or icky, or because I could see a lot of problems potentially with like, here's the game where you pretend you have depression. It feels like it needs to be handled well, and probably by somebody with anyway, not to get too deep into that, but I think solo games have a lot of potential for education in ways that people don't necessarily notice they're being educated, or they do and they like it, one of the two. Which got me back to thinking about when you were talking about dice math and stuff. You could definitely make like a math class solo journaling game.
Absolutely.
Like,
absolutely.
Change the shitty little homework packet into a card prompt driven thing that like you have to do math. Think about it. I'll think about it. I haven't done math.
I'm thinking about it right now.
Yeah, flashcards, but it's a journaling game. I would have learned better with that kind of shit. I never used the flashcards to study. I hated it. Didn't work. But a game?
I was a terrible homework doer. Homework not doer. I didn't do homework.
Yeah, same. Homework was for homeroom.
That's right.
This
Homework was for homeroom. Absolutely.
If I had more than a half hour's worth of homework for the whole day, well, I was just getting whatever I could do in the morning done.
Absolutely. What a truth. What an absolute world truth.
Yeah, because, hey, teachers out there, don't give too much homework, or any. It's bad. Kids already have to be at school for 8 hours. Why are you making it more? Let them have fun. Just because we don't get to have fun anymore.
Which we could.
Because we have to pay bills and shit. Anyway, that's the other
Destroy the
podcast
government.
again.
Anyways, this is the top of the show.
Yeah, we've arrived at an hour long, which is cool. Well, nearly. We're 3 minutes short, but that's fine because we're going to do outros and then it will have been an hour. So I appreciate everybody that has called in. It's great to be back. Next week will be the Tabletop Call-In Show talk show. So no calls, just Jeremy and I talking about potentially pre-prepared topics. Who knows? We'll see if we get to it.
We got to do our homework.
We should do our homework. Yeah. No homework for kids, but homework for podcasters. God. Yeah. So I've been Adam Bell. You can find me on Twitter at AdamyBell. Follow me there. You could find VODs of the show on my YouTube channel. Go subscribe there. You could find the podcast version of this, which is just the same version but without the video, because I don't have time to edit it nicely, as nice as that would be. You can find that. Just look for Tabletop Call-In Show. It'll be there. Subscribe on Twitch or whatever. I might try to do some more streaming so we could do the affiliate thing and maybe get like $3 a month for this show.
That'd be sick.
Yeah. And Brandon in the chat asking, there's a podcast version. Heck yeah, there is. It is missing most of the first season of the show because my brain was decomposing, but I have made an internal commitment to keep track of this new stuff. So check it out there. Jeremy, say goodbye to the good people with who you are first also.
Hi. Goodbye. I've been Jeremy Gage. Hello, San Diego. Have a great night. My name is Jeremy Gage. You can find me at Jeremy Gage 5 over on Twitter or at Draw Your Dice Pod, also over on Twitter. You can listen to the Draw Your Dice podcast. Look out for a new podcast, which will have devlog stuff for Umbral Dive and for Astral Journey and for the whole Twilight Helix box set. What? It's a box set? Please come say hi to me and join the Discord where me and Adam often yell at each other in the cafe.
Yeah, it's like an informal talk show.
Yeah,
or a
truly.
call-in show. Except
yeah, you get more of us.
if that's what you want. I'm not always
It
there,
is
so you
what
can't
you
just
want.
get more of Jeremy if that's the preference.
Throw up.
All right. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for watching later. If that's what you're doing, we will talk to you next week.
Thank you, callers.